Hi, morning. No matter how hard I try, maybe there's a lesson there. Quit trying to just do it. From time to time I need housekeeping, what I call housekeeping, to address some issues of the past. First, let's start with matters of the heart. This was made as my machine was in its dying throes. It has a lot of problems, but it was really heartfelt and really inspired and really important to me to share that message that I was trying to convey, talking about the heart. So when I watched it, about 22 minutes in, first there's an ambient sound, and it wasn't anything to do with what's going on here in my meditation room. It was somewhere within the machine. And I came to a point 22 minutes in of a 40-minute video. The camera froze, the picture froze. And it stayed that way for about 5 minutes. But rather than shut it down, I continued to talk. And then when the picture came back, when the camera started, when it showed motion, unfortunately, the sound and the picture were out of sync. And they're really irritating from a poorly dubbed film where mouth and sound didn't meet, didn't correspond. And it's a little awkward to watch. But I've decided to keep it, warts and all. Because if you're patient enough to watch the whole thing with the understanding that the last 3 or 4 minutes is just picture the soundtrack had already finished. Anyway, I'm keeping that. It did have quite a few hits, quite a few viewers, so maybe you shut down early, who knows. But I'm keeping it for me because it is important, at least to me. So I'm not going to be redoing the matter of the heart. And the second thing, when I was talking about my video trail of fears based on the Cherokee, Indian, and other tribe saga, trail of tears, which occurred when the United States government moved the Indians from the southeast, Georgia in particular, from the coast inland. All of tribes all the way down to Florida were affected. And the dates, the 30-year period of this was 1820 to 1850. And I said at the time that events in the country were leading to the Revolutionary War. Now, as a American Studies professor, how can I make such a glaring error? I meant the Civil War, which was to start in April 12th, 1861, and continue for 4 years until May 13th, 1865. So maybe it's not important, maybe you didn't catch it, but I had to set that straight. And even though from 1850 there's a period of 11 years, it was a very tumultuous time in American history. And our treatment of the indigenous people is nothing but a stain on our legacy as a country and as a people. But we must keep moving on. The past is to be learned from, to be addressed, and not held on to look ahead. A favorite of mine who I've mentioned before, and I love his name, Christmas Humphreys. A man who lived from the early 20th century till near its end. From the teens, I think, to the 80s. But he was early, besides being a barrister, besides being an attorney, he was an early Western proponent of Buddhism. And he was active in establishing associations, groups in Great Britain to promote his interest in Buddhism, to share with other like-minded individuals. But he wrote a quite beautiful book, a short book that stuck with me. And although I don't accumulate books, I'm pointing to my library over here that I've really pared down, and just books that I couldn't get rid of, that I just needed to hold on to. But accumulating books and my sometimes nomadic lifestyle just don't get along too well. So I pared it down. Now I'm moving less and less often than I did before, because as you know, you think I'm in agreement, moving is a arduous chore. But and each move in the last few years has, hopefully, in my thinking at the time, been my last. But I see one or two more moves in the future. Not moves from Hualien necessarily, although being a little further south, being an hour or less out of Hualien proper, along the coast, so that I could walk on the seashore, go out my front door and walk on the seashore, that I could have easy access to the mountains, which I also enjoy wandering in. But maybe the first move would be from Meirun, a northern area of Hualien City, to those of you that might know, do a more southerly jihad. Time will tell. But be that as it may, Christmas Humphreys, his great book, Walk On, is a book that I would like to replace and put on my bookcase, put in my bookcase for easy access, because his message is all encapsulated in his meaningful title. If I had to put 2 words to my spiritual journey, to my spiritual inquiry that inspired me the most, would be his walk on. Walk on from moment to moment. Don't get stuck in the moment. Don't prolong the moment. Breathe it in and breathe it out. Breathe in the new. Breathe out the old. Now, yesterday I talked about beginnings and endings. And previous to that, I talked about how today has an interesting way of taking care of yesterday. So obviously, this has been on my mind of late. I talked about the accumulation of now, the accumulation of moments. And just as I'm getting accustomed to keeping my refurbished iMac lean and mean by not accumulating, by erasing the histories that accumulate, by getting rid of the unnecessary cookies. Because there's all this extraneous noises and distractions accumulate to the point where my machine just quit on me. Don't leave conflicting information for me to have to deal with in my present moment of offering my services to you. This is my computer talking to me. And I could see this direct correlation between what was going on with my computer and how it applied to daily life. How it made me aware that living in the moment, as beautiful a concept as that is, as if there was an alternative. There's really no choice in the matter. But the moments accumulate. The moments take up space, time, efforts that detract from the intimacy, the significance of the moment. So even within these, well, almost cliche living in the moment, has maybe lost much of its original meaning just by being used so much and so often. When philosophies become the grist of advertisement, the advertising agencies, we need to frame them in new language. Just like slang. We use slang until it becomes accepted part of the language. And this acceptance leads the younger people to constantly seek something new, to divorce and separate themselves from the older people, their parents. As times have moved faster and faster, the natural distance between generations has seemed to shrunk, leading to a faster turnover. Everything is going faster as we expand. So walk on. It's a mindful walking. Be aware of the next step. Be aware that steps will add up to a journey. As you're walking, look for signposts. Look for messages. Look for road signs that affirm that you're heading in the right direction. And these can be emotions. Be in tune with your emotions. Be aware of your body. Listen to the sounds of the universe. Just today, in the Taipei Times, which I read online, as part of my morning ritual, along with my coffee, a young woman has been recording the sounds of Taipei to remind us that how much we ignore, how much we shut out, to remind us that there's a white noise. There's the song, the sound of the city as it breathes in and breathes out. And this kind of reminder to those city folk can be, should be, might be really constructive. They might be a signpost. Now, living in a city is challenging. The noise, the ambient noise is overwhelming to me. But even in my small city of Hualien, I have to close my windows to block out some of the sounds. Because the sounds of humanity are the ones that I find most distracting. Our cars, our scooters, our loud talking. The sounds of nature become a song But recently, in the spirit of relaxing and acceptance, I'm learning to hear the human contribution to the song. Just as that barking dog out the window becomes part of the song, so does our scooters and our cars and our busy little lives. We're noisy critters, us human beings. Just ask our animal friends, be them domesticated, or wild, free in nature. They hear us, they run. The snakes are more afraid of us than we are of them. Rightly so. So this reminder, walk on, walk on, walk on. It's the spiritual path. It's been likened many, many times as a path up a mountain. And that's a useful analogy. But what happens when we hit a plateau? What happens when we lose the sense of progress, that we're going uphill? It's still necessary to accept the next step, to walk on with equanimity, even though it's hard to measure progress. Progress is an accumulation of efforts, of steps. And each one within itself has a message of the moment. So you're aware that you're moving. You're aware that life is movement. That accumulates. That allows, impels, compels you to get from A to B. So that's what walk on means to me. Walk on also ties in, as I mentioned earlier, with beginnings and endings, and letting today take care of yesterday. Assigning past steps to history. And learning that what may seem like missteps, mistakes within themselves have the seed of progress. All contribute. Just as the wrinkles and the lines in my face represent the steps from my past, the steps taken previously, and I wear them proudly. No Botox for me, because everything that shows on the outside is there for others to witness that the journey we've been on from the inside. As Bob Dylan said, when I paint my masterpiece, well, this is my masterpiece, folks. This is the face that I share with the world. This is a culmination of all those steps. There's no hiding, is there? We think that we hide our thoughts, we hide our feelings. Well, I'm here to say that nothing's hidden. Everything is available about each and every one of us to anyone that takes the time or perceptive enough to see. So this is just a reminder. Everything you do, think, feel accumulates to this. It accumulates here. So, and again, this is our masterpiece. This face we have that goes out into the world. This face that can't hide or doesn't lie. It shares all there is to know about each of us. And it's just a matter of perception and time. Do you look at those around you? And once you understand that we're all part of the same thing, we're all reflections of infinity, and the judgment necessarily has to be laid to rest, put in the graveyard with desires, with accumulations, with useless human activities, with the ego. Let the ego take care of all these things that we have assigned to the graveyard, that we have discovered are not real. Let the ego take care of the Maya. That's a good job for the ego. And the less and less that you refer or reference or acknowledge the ego at the graveyard, the better, the lighter your step will be. Once you put that big sack of regrets, sorrows, should've, could've, would've, the conditional tense, let that go and replace it with what is. That's all there is. What is. And we talked about Ramana Maharishi, Sri Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi. And he's been really relevant to me. I've gone back and looked at his works, and he talked about I am that I am. Well, last night I was reading in my current science fiction book that I read in the interregnum of sleep 1 and sleep 2, the space between again. I am what I am. And it really hit me hard. Look at the difference. I am that I am, and I am what I am. The second, I am what I am, can reflect the ego, can reflect the things that we've decided to relegate to the graveyard, letting the ego stand watch. But I am that I am is a simple declaration of witnessing. And I am what I am can be interpreted in the same way as I am that I am. If you look at it holistically, if you discard identification with illusion or maya, identification with the ego, because what am I? What are all of us? We're a direct part of the infinite, of the all. That's what we are. We're not doctors, we're not identifying with accomplishments, or identifying with lack of accomplishments. If we look at I am what I am in its purest sense, you'll see that the conditions that caused false identification with what you thought you were, if they're replaced with what you are, it becomes a thing of beauty. So, I am that I am what I am, can become one and the same. When you look at I am what I am, when you look at it sincerely, when you reflect, when you look for guidance, when you look for inspiration, you will find that I am that I am, and I am what I am are the same.